Alright, I am hella tired right now. I don't know what it is. Last few days I've been feeling way more tired than usual, but I'm gonna power through because that's what I do with my videos. Let's jump right into this review. Bryson Tiller is finally back with his third studio album, Anniversary. This has been arguably one of the most anticipated R&B albums in the last few years. If you don't know, Bryson Tiller is a popular singer and rapper from Louisville, Kentucky, who blew up big time back in 2015 with his debut album Trap Soul, a record that I finally listened to recently thanks to the release of the Deluxe Edition of the album, and I really love that record. I think Trap Soul is awesome. Much of the anticipation for this album, though, is largely on account of Bryson's radio silence in the last few years. He hasn't dropped an album since 2017's True to Self, a record that he even expressed displeasure with, and for the last few years I have seen a number of people wondering where Bryson is, waiting for a new album, wanting new music, and now he's finally back with a new record. One that seems to be taking things back into the direction of Trap Soul, complete with a similar cover art and the same spacing between the letters on the title formatting. The naming of the record is also pretty fitting as its release date coincides with the 5th anniversary of Trap Soul's original release. But this album here is 10 tracks and 28 minutes, significantly shorter than either of Bryson's previous albums, though that may be because Bryson has teased that this is something of a first wave of new music, and supposedly another record is going to be on its way later. I've been hearing that it's supposed to be titled Serenity. So, if this is part 1, was it worth the wait? Well, sure. I will say, going right into it, if you're expecting this to be as good as Trap Soul, you might be a little bit disappointed, but taking it on its own, it's a pretty good album. On this record, there are a handful of songs that do succeed on their own. The opening track, Years Go By, works in a lot of the established formula that worked with Trap Soul, with a punching trap beat and Bryson rapping and delivering some hard, somewhat fast flows. Even though the song doesn't have much of a chorus to it, I still think it's a good opener to the record, and Bryson sounds excellent on it as usual. We also have the track I'm Ready For You, which takes it a little bit slower, but still has a punchy feel with some good click-clacking percussion and spacey instrumentals. Bryson's vocals are a bit more processed on the song, but his charisma still shines through, and this ends up being one of the more compelling cuts on the album. And then there's Things Change, which, yes, instrumentally it does sound a good deal like a lot of the other songs on here, but what keeps it compelling is the catchiness of Bryson's melodies that he comes through with all throughout the song. It probably won't rank among Bryson's best songs as a whole, but it's a solid track that also sees Bryson delivering some fun, rapid-fire flows near the end. Sorrows is also a bit of a banger too. The trap drums on here are very busy, but they aren't overpowering, and Bryson has possibly one of his best vocal performances on the album. He sing-raps his way through the song and manages to ride the beat very well, while also coming through with his trademark smooth, lovely vocals. And the track Outta features Drake, and it succeeds even if it kind of feels at points like it's a little more of Drake's song than Bryson's song. I do like the relaxed vibe of it though, and I think Drake and Bryson bring the goods with their respective vocal performances. It's definitely a more ethereal cut, but it is a solid bop that I wouldn't mind receiving a single release in the future. And Keep Doing What You're Doing is a sweet cut too. It's much more stripped back than a number of the other songs on here, and lyrically I think the song works very well in that it focuses on and centers around Bryson's grandmother, who passed away earlier this year and Bryson has cited as the most important woman in his life. Bryson's singing really sells the song, and again, it's one of the most emotionally potent cuts on the album. That said, there are a number of songs that I'm not into as much on this album. Sometimes they falter because of a bland chorus, sometimes it's because of lackluster structure, or sometimes it's just because they're plagued by their own general averageness. Always Forever was one of the album's big singles, and honestly, I wasn't really as crazy about this one. Yes, the instrumental has some smooth, ethereal vibes to it, and Bryson's vocals are as strong as ever, but the song structure just feels a bit unfocused, and I think the chorus is a bit bland. And it's a shame because some of the melodies on the verses are great, but the hook just sounds like it doesn't matter, and it kind of kills the song. The Timeless interlude also kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Bryson's performance is impassioned, and the lyrical content does feel a bit more introspective, but the actual instrumental feels like it's been kind of wasted and the song lacks much of a hook for me. And despite being released as the lead-off single to the album, Inhale feels like a total throwaway on the track list. It's a shame because the song is built on a pair of excellent samples, with All Night Long by SWV and Not Gon' Cry by Mary J. Blige, but it feels like Bryson doesn't know what to do with them. While the sample work results in a beautiful chorus, this. Bryson himself doesn't come in until midway through the song, and when he does, he gives what sounds like one of his most uninspired performances in a while. There's also a beat switch on here, but it literally leads to nothing, and really, there's no reason for it to be here. It kind of just kills what little of a vibe the song had left for it. And the closer to the album, Next to You, is another one that feels a bit bland to me. The instrumental does blend in a good deal with a number of the other songs on here, and even if Bryson sounds good, this is another song that feels like it could have used a little bit more, you know, him. The chorus is built on a sample of Shoulda Made You a Mother by Rob Curley, and it's to the point where Rob Curley's vocals are the ones you hear the most on it. Bryson vocalizes at a few points, but those moments feel a bit clumsy and awkwardly structured, and the chorus as a whole feels like wasted potential, not being nearly exciting enough to make this a standout. It's a disappointing finisher to the album, and I wish Bryson went with Keep Doing What You're Doing to close it out. Overall, I could definitely see why some people are not going to love this thing. It tends to feel a bit too average at some points, and if you're going into it expecting a second coming of trap soul, you're gonna be a bit disappointed. I think the long wait for this album created such heightened expectations that were going to be hard to reach, in the same way as, for the sake of a comparable artist, Party Next Door's Party Mobile. The long wait for that album shot expectations up to the point where the final product was going to be disappointing if it wasn't the greatest thing ever. Fortunately though, if we're comparing this to the shit show that was Party Mobile, Bryson's new album is actually listenable, and at 28 minutes, it's far more palatable than Party Next Door's nearly hour-long project. Not only that, but it's actually good. It's definitely not the most exciting thing Bryson's released, and again, if you're going into it expecting that it's going to be as great as Trap Soul, you're probably not gonna love it. However, if you go into it hoping for some decent jams, solid vocals, and good mixes of R&B and hip-hop, you'll probably enjoy this thing. It's a decent collection of songs with its fair share of highs, and even if it's not the most ambitious record, it's a good listen. I don't know what Bryson has up his sleeve for the future, specifically when it comes to whatever his next album is, but hopefully it builds off of this one nicely. Flaws and all, Bryson is back with some good tracks, and while he hasn't crafted a new age classic, he's got enough here that fans of his music will be satisfied, while outsiders should manage to find a thing or two to like. Overall, on my rating scale, I'm gonna say that Bryson Tiller's Anniversary is gonna get a good rating from me. Not nearly as hard-hitting as Trap Soul, but still an enjoyable record, and hopefully Bryson's next album builds off of this one nicely. But that's just my opinion on this album. What did you guys think about it? Did you enjoy it perhaps even more than I did? Did the long wait kill the album, and were you disappointed in it? Were you indifferent towards it? Have you just not been all that interested in Bryson's music? And if Bryson's next album, Serenity, is indeed a thing and he's going to be dropping it soon, what do you want to hear on it? And what do you think he can do on that record to make it better than Anniversary? Whatever your thoughts are, leave them down in the comments. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I won't beg you for it. And in terms of what's next, I'm not sure what's coming out this October that I'm going to be looking at. As I mentioned in my last video, because I have so many 10 years later videos that I want to do for November albums, I might do some of those throughout October, just so I'm not crunching myself when November comes. In terms of new albums though, I've heard that Sam Smith's new record comes out at the end of October, and I will definitely be giving that a look because I've very much enjoyed Sam's music up to this point, and I'm very excited to see what they come through with next. So stay tuned for that, but until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.